Also making headlines tonight, the bizarre disappearance of a pregnant Michigan woman taking another gruesome turn. Her body turns up in northern Michigan, but the status of her baby is unknown.
22 years old, 38 weeks pregnant, 3 weeks missing. When they finally found Rebecca Park's body in that forest, everybody had the same question. Where's the baby? But here's what nobody saw coming. The person who took her life wasn't some stranger. It was the woman who gave her life. Make it make sense. You're watching Shadowed Crimes TV. We tell the stories that need to be told. Domestic violence, toxic relationships, and the lives lost behind closed doors. No sugarcoating, no excuses, just the truth. If you're new here, subscribe and join us as we shed light on shadowed stories. Rebecca Park was 22, young, trying to figure life out like most of us at that age. She was living up in Cadillac, Michigan. Small town, the kind of place where everybody knows everybody's business. And in November, she was days away from becoming a mother herself. 38 weeks pregnant. That's full term, y'all. That's the baby could come any day now, pregnant. That's hospital bag already packed, pregnant. She was ready, excited. From what her family said, this was going to be her first child. Now Rebecca's life wasn't perfect. Whose is? Her baby's father was a man named Richard Failer. We're going to come back to him later, but just know their relationship was complicated. He had his own issues going on, but Rebecca, she was focused on that baby. She was preparing. She was nesting. She was doing what expectant mothers do. And the person she leaned on most during this pregnancy, her mama, Courtney Bartholomew. Rebecca and her mother were close, or at least that's how it looked from the outside. When you're pregnant with your first baby, you call your mama. You ask questions, you get advice, you want her there. That's supposed to be the safest relationship in your life. Mother and daughter, the person who brought you into this world, now helping you bring your own child into it. Courtney had remarried. Her husband, Rebecca's stepfather, was Bradley Bartholomew. They lived together up in that same Cadillac area, in a place called Boone Township. Rebecca also had a younger sister, Kimberly Park, so it was a family unit, you know? Not perfect, but family. Rebecca stayed in contact with her mother throughout that pregnancy. Regular visits, phone calls, all the things you'd expect. Because when you're about to have a baby and you're young and maybe a little scared, you want your mama close. You want that support. November 3rd rolls around, and this is where everything goes left. Rebecca was 38 weeks. She was starting to feel contractions. Not the fake ones, the real deal. Early labor. Her body was telling her, it's time. The baby's coming soon. Maybe not that day, but soon. Could be hours, could be a couple days, but it was happening. So she did what most first-time mothers do when labor starts creeping up. She called her mama, and her mama told her to come over. Come to the house in Boone Township. We'll figure this out. We'll get you to the hospital if we need to. Just come here first. Rebecca went. She drove herself over there that day, showed up at her mother's house. Her mother, Courtney. Her stepfather, Bradley. This was supposed to be a routine visit. Maybe they'd time the contractions together. Maybe they'd decide if it was time to head to the hospital. Maybe they'd just sit and wait it out. That's what you do. That's what family does. But Rebecca never made it to the hospital that day. She never made it home either. That was the last time anybody saw Rebecca Park alive. November 3rd, at her mother's house, in early labor, with her baby just days from being born. When Rebecca didn't come home, people noticed. You don't just vanish when you're 9 months pregnant. You can't hide that. And Rebecca wasn't the type to just disappear without telling anybody. She had people who cared about her, people who were checking on her. The alarm bells started going off quick. Her family, well, some of her family, reported her missing. And let me tell you something. When a pregnant woman goes missing, especially one who's about to pop any second, law enforcement moves. This wasn't a maybe she'll turn up in a few days situation. This was urgent. The Wexford County Sheriff's Department up in northern Michigan took the lead. They started asking questions. When did you last see her? Where was she going? Who was she with? All the standard stuff. And the answer kept coming back to the same place. Her mother's house. That's where she was last seen. November 3rd, Boone Township, with Courtney and Bradley Bartholomew. So naturally, investigators are looking at them. They're looking at the baby's father, Richard. They're looking at everybody close to Rebecca. Because in cases like this, it's usually somebody close. It's rarely a stranger, especially when a pregnant woman disappears from a family member's house and nobody saw her leave. Days go by, no Rebecca, no phone calls, no sightings, nothing. The search expands. We're talking volunteers, search parties, people combing through the woods around Cadillac. Northern Michigan's got a lot of forest, a lot of places to search. The Manistee National Forest sits right there. Thick trees, remote areas, the kind of terrain that swallows people whole if you don't know where to look. And the whole time, one question kept getting louder. Where is Rebecca Park? But here's the thing that made it even more haunting. Where's her baby? Because if Rebecca had that baby, somebody's got an infant right now. If she didn't have the baby yet, then that child is either still with her or, well, nobody wanted to think about the other options. The case started getting attention beyond Michigan. News outlets picked it up. Social media lit up. People across the country were following this story because it had everything that grabs you. A missing pregnant woman, a mysterious disappearance, a baby nobody could find, and a family that wasn't giving straight answers. 1 week passed, then 2, then 3. 3 whole weeks of searching. 3 weeks of Rebecca's face plastered on missing person posters. 3 weeks of investigators interviewing everyone who knew her. 3 weeks of her family, or at least some of them, pleading for information. And then, 21 days after she vanished, searchers found something in the Manistee National Forest. A body.
It really tears at my heart. I want to bring closure to her and her family.
Breaking news. Authorities confirm that 22-year-old Rebecca K. Park, who is 39 weeks pregnant and has been missing for nearly 25 days, has been found deceased. But the baby she was supposed to give birth to on November 18th has not been found.
It was near Cadillac, not far from where Rebecca was last seen. And here's what made it even more disturbing. This area had already been searched, multiple times. People had walked through those woods looking for Rebecca, and she wasn't there. Or at least, they didn't find her. But on that 21st day, there she was. The body was identified as Rebecca Park, 22 years old. Should have been holding her newborn baby by now. Instead, she was found dead in the forest. And her baby? Nowhere. Not with the body. Not nearby. Just gone. The Sheriff's Department up in Wexford County confirmed what everyone feared. The young lady that was found resembles Rebecca Parks. Investigators were being real quiet about the details. They wouldn't say how she died, wouldn't confirm if the baby had been born or not, wouldn't give any specifics about the condition of the body. All they'd say is that it was a tragic time in their county. Tragic. That's the word they used. Like that covers it. Like that explains a pregnant woman being found dead in the woods with her baby missing. An autopsy was scheduled immediately because they needed answers. cause of death, whether the baby had been delivered, whether there was any sign of where that child could be. The medical examiner had a lot of questions to answer, and so did the people who last saw Rebecca alive. Oh wow, so now we got a body but no baby. Now we got a death investigation but no cause of death yet. Now we got a family that's looking real suspicious, and investigators who are being real quiet about what they know. But they knew enough to start making arrests. Right after they found Rebecca's body, things started moving fast, real fast. Within 24 hours, 2 people were in handcuffs. First up, Richard Fahler, Rebecca's baby daddy, the father of that missing child. Now, when the father of a murdered pregnant woman gets arrested right after her body turns up, you already know what people are thinking. Everybody's side-eyeing him hard. The boyfriend always looks guilty in these situations. And Richard? He looked real guilty. But here's the thing. They didn't charge him with murder. They didn't even charge him with anything related to Rebecca's death. They got him on drug charges. Separate case. Unrelated, according to police. Drug charges. While his girlfriend's body is barely cold and his baby is missing somewhere. Drug charges. Is that what we're doing now? So Richard's locked up, but not for what everyone thinks he did. And investigators aren't saying whether he's a suspect in Rebecca's murder or not. They're just being real quiet about the whole thing. He's in custody. That's all they'd confirm. Then they arrested somebody else. And this one hit different. Kimberly Park, Rebecca's younger sister, her own little sister. They charged Kimberly with tampering with evidence and lying to police. Not murder, not conspiracy, but tampering and lying, which means she knew something. She did something. She tried to hide something. And whatever it was serious enough to get her arrested while they're investigating her sister's death. Think about that for a second. Your sister is missing. Your sister turns up dead. Your sister's baby is gone. And you're getting arrested for lying to the police and messing with evidence? Girl, what evidence? What are you lying about? What do you know? The family was falling apart in real time. The baby's father locked up. The victim's sister locked up. And both of them in court facing charges while Rebecca's mama is supposedly grieving and helping with the investigation. Or so it seemed. Because Courtney Bartholomew, Rebecca's mother, was playing the worried mom role. She was the one who reported Rebecca missing. She was the one doing interviews, probably. She was the one acting like she wanted answers. But investigators weren't buying it. Not completely. See, they knew Courtney's house was the last place Rebecca was seen alive. They knew the timeline didn't add up. They knew something was off. So while Courtney's out here acting concerned, detectives are watching her, real close. They even gave her a polygraph test, made her sit down and answer questions while hooked up to a lie detector. And the results? They never released them publicly. But whatever that polygraph said, it gave investigators enough to keep digging. Because here's what they were piecing together. Rebecca showed up at her mother's house on November 3rd. She was in early labor. She was excited about having this baby. She trusted her mama. And after that day, nobody saw her again. Not alive, anyway. 3 weeks later, her body shows up in the woods. Baby gone. And the only people who can account for what happened that day are the people who were in that house with her. Courtney Bartholomew, Bradley Bartholomew, and whoever else was there. So investigators kept pressing, kept interviewing, kept building their case, and within days of finding Rebecca's body, they were ready to make another arrest. 2 more arrests, actually. And these ones? These changed everything.
Roop, I want to get everyone up to speed, first of all, because this case does stem out of northern Michigan, but it has had mass appeal across the country. We're talking about a young mother, 22-year-old Rebecca Park. She went missing in early November. She was 38 weeks pregnant, actually starting the process of labor when she was last seen by her mother in the Cadillac area, specifically Boone Township. Now, 3 weeks after she went missing, this takes us to last week, her body was found not too far from when she was last seen in the Manistee National Forest. An autopsy confirming over the weekend the worst, that it was in fact Rebecca Park, but sadly her baby was nowhere and is nowhere to be found at this hour. Now, last week, shortly after her body was found, there were two people that were arrested. The child's father was arrested and Rebecca Park's own sister. Now, they were both charged on unrelated charges. He was charged with drug charges. She was also charged with lying to police. Now, they have since been arraigned. And we learned in the last 24 hours, two more people have been arrested. Courtney Bartholomew and Bradley Bartholomew. Courtney is actually Rebecca's own mother and her stepdad, Bradley. Now, they were supposed to be charged in relation to this case, in relation to what is now a homicide investigation. And their arraignment was postponed until tomorrow. Now, we've been tracking this case because of just the incredible, sad situation we're talking about here. A young mother that went missing for 3 weeks. Really, so many people, hundreds and thousands of people searching for her. And it's really the question tonight is, where is her baby? 38 weeks pregnant. She was starting to deliver. And that is the question that Wexford County Sheriff's deputies up in northern Michigan are trying to answer. Such a sad case.
December rolls in and the news breaks. Courtney Bartholomew, Rebecca Park's own mother, has been arrested. And it's not for lying to police. It's not for tampering with evidence. It's for murder. First-degree murder. Let me tell you something. When they announced that, the whole case flipped. Because one thing is a boyfriend who might have killed his pregnant girlfriend. That's tragic, but it happens. One thing is family members covering for each other. That happens too. But a mother killing her own pregnant daughter and then helping search for her like she didn't know exactly where the body was, that's a different kind of evil. Bradley Bartholomew, the stepfather, got arrested right alongside her. Same charges, first-degree murder. But they didn't stop there. They hit both of them with a stack of charges that made it clear this wasn't a fight that went wrong. This wasn't an accident. This was planned. This was vicious. 8 counts total. First-degree murder, torture, assault of a pregnant person, conspiracy. The prosecutor laid it all out, and every charge was worse than the last. Torture. They charged them with torture, which means Rebecca didn't just die quick. She suffered. Her last moments on this earth at the hands of her own mother were painful, were drawn out, were deliberately cruel, an assault of a pregnant person. That charge exists for a reason, because attacking a pregnant woman is attacking two people, the mother and the unborn child, which means legally they're acknowledging that Rebecca's baby was a victim too. But where's the baby? That's still the question nobody could answer. During the arraignment, prosecutors didn't hold back. They called what Courtney and Bradley did evil personified. Not just evil, evil personified. Like they looked at this case and couldn't find another way to describe the level of cruelty involved. The prosecutor said Courtney and Bradley planned this. They knew Rebecca was coming over. They knew she was vulnerable, pregnant, in labor, and they used that. They lured her to that house, and they killed her, stabbed her baby. Both of them attacked in that house on November 3rd, and after they killed her, they moved the body, dumped her in the Manistee National Forest, left her there for 3 weeks while search parties walked right past that area. While volunteers and family members and strangers were out looking for her, Courtney knew exactly where she was. She knew because she put her there. The bond hearing was quick. The judge didn't even hesitate. No bond. Both of them held without bond. Because when you're charged with torturing and murdering your own pregnant daughter, you don't get to go home and wait for trial. You sit in jail and think about what you did, and the whole time that baby was still missing.
To breaking news we're following right now. The mother and stepfather of Rebecca Park have both now been charged with murder. Courtney and Brad Bartholomew both face 8 counts, including first-degree murder, torture, and assault of a pregnant person. Prosecutors say the couple planned the attack, stabbing and killing both her and the child. The prosecutor called it, quote, evil personified. Both are being held without bond, and Rebecca's baby still has not been found.
Here's the part that keeps people up at night. The baby. Rebecca was 38 weeks pregnant, full term. That baby could have survived outside the womb. If someone delivered that baby, even in the chaos of everything that happened, that child could have lived. So where is the baby? Prosecutors said Courtney and Bradley stabbed Rebecca and the child, both of them, which suggests the baby was still inside Rebecca when she died. The autopsy would confirm cause of death, but they weren't releasing those details to the public. Medical examiners in small towns like that don't usually share everything, especially in an active murder investigation. But the community wanted answers. People online were running wild with theories. Some thought the baby was delivered and someone took it. Some thought the baby died with Rebecca. Some theories were so dark, so disturbing, that even mentioning them felt wrong. The investigators kept saying the same thing. The baby has not been found. Not the baby is deceased. Not the baby was never born. Just not found. Which leaves everything open to interpretation, and that's the cruelest part. Because if that baby was born alive, then somebody knows where that child is. If the baby died with Rebecca, then at least there's closure. But this in-between, this not knowing, this baby is missing language, that keeps hope alive in the worst way. Rebecca's family, the ones who weren't arrested, had to sit with that, had to process that their daughter, their sister, their niece was murdered by her own mother, and that the baby they were supposed to meet, supposed to hold, supposed to love, was just gone. The father, Richard Failer, was still locked up on those drug charges, still not charged with murder, which means investigators cleared him, at least for Rebecca's death. His baby is missing, his girlfriend is dead, and he's sitting in jail on unrelated charges while the real killers were Rebecca's own family. Kimberly, Rebecca's sister, was still facing her tampering and lying charges, which means she knew something. Maybe she helped cover it up. Maybe she knew what her mother did and didn't say anything right away. Whatever her role was, it was enough to get her arrested, but not enough to charge her with murder. As this case moved through the legal system, one question stayed stuck in everybody's mind. Where is Rebecca's baby? That child was full term, viable, could have survived if delivered properly. So either that baby died with Rebecca and the body was hidden somewhere separate, or something even darker happened that nobody wants to say out loud. The internet had theories. Some people thought the baby was sold. Some thought it was given to someone who couldn't have kids. Some thought the baby was buried in a different location, and some thought the baby never made it out alive. But without remains, without evidence, without someone talking, it's all just speculation. What we do know is this. Prosecutors charged Courtney and Bradley with assault of a pregnant person, which is a separate charge from the murder of Rebecca herself. That means legally, the state of Michigan recognized that baby as a second victim. 2 lives taken that day, mother and child. Richard Failer, the baby's father, eventually dealt with his drug charges. He was never charged in connection with Rebecca's death. Kimberly Park, Rebecca's sister, faced her tampering and lying charges. Whatever she did to help cover this up, or whatever she knew and didn't tell, that's on her conscience now. But the masterminds, the ones who actually killed Rebecca, were her mother and stepfather, the two people she should have been able to trust more than anybody. Rebecca Park was 22 years old. She should be here. She should have had her baby by now. That child would be walking, talking, starting school. Rebecca would be figuring out motherhood, making mistakes, learning, growing. Instead, she's gone. And her baby, whoever that baby was, whatever that baby could have been, is gone too. This case is a reminder that danger doesn't always come from strangers. It don't always come from the obvious places. Sometimes it comes from the people you trust most. Sometimes it's the hand that's supposed to protect you that ends up being the one that harms you. Domestic violence takes many forms. And this is one of the most painful. A mother killing her daughter. A grandmother killing her grandchild. Family destroying family. If you're in a situation where you don't feel safe, even if it's with family, even if it's with people who are supposed to love you, reach out, tell someone, get help, because Rebecca trusted the wrong person, and it cost her everything. At the time of this recording, Courtney and Bradley Bartholomew are still awaiting trial. They're being held without bond, facing life in prison if convicted. Kimberly Park dealt with her charges for lying and tampering. Richard Fahler is no longer considered a suspect. But Rebecca's baby? Still missing, still unaccounted for, still a mystery that keeps this case from ever having full closure. Maybe one day Courtney or Bradley will tell the truth about what happened to that child. Maybe evidence will surface. Maybe someone will talk. But until then, Rebecca Park's story ends in that forest. A young mother who never got to hold her baby. A child who never got to take a first breath. 2 lives stolen by the people who should have cherished them most. And that's something that will never make sense. Period. This is Shadowed Crimes TV. If this story got to you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment, share this video. Because cases like this, they need to be told. Stay safe out there.